So
Right.
what do you think is this game changer that Tim Cook is hinting at?
It's definitely television. I mean, I actually watched it twice, and if you just listen to his comments, they make a lot of comments about what they're learning through this little Apple TV hockey puck device. Lots of hints around television. He makes hints about having a couple of game changers, things they've been working on for years. All of these things, I think, point to a television. You know, Walt really tried to press him on whether or not we're going to see it this year. I think it's more likely a 2014 event. But for me, a television is definitively coming, and there was more evidence of this last night.
Brian, did Tim Cook give away more in that appearance last night than he typically does? And if so, what did you key in on?
I think he did. You know, he kept using words like intense focus on television. He used words that really let them know that behind the scenes, we're doing a lot on the TV side. So that was one thing. He was much more open, I think, than we might have seen Steve Jobs be about something in process. He also commented on this new and complete overhaul of iOS, which we're going to see in about 11 days here. That was something that I haven't seen before. I mean, he provided a lot of commentary.
Front-running the developers conference.
He did, in a way. He didn't give us the specifics, but an overhaul is coming. He said that Johnny Ive is driving this, and so we know that's coming. He also gave a lot of clues about his interest in wearable technology.
Yeah. Well, I wonder how much of this has to do his newfound openness with the stock slide. The stock is up 30% from the highs. He's got to be glued to that.
Yes.
And with that comes questions of what's next and where's the innovation at Apple.
I agree, and that is a part of it. I think that he is willing to be a little more open, let people know that there are game changers coming, let investors and consumers alike know, look, Apple's not out. Samsung has a lot of momentum now, but so did Dell, 10 years ago. He used that as an example of we've always had tough competitors, but I think you're right. There is a little more openness, I think, and a little more interest in letting people know there's some exciting things to come because of the stock price.
Shareholders.
That's right.
Brian, you mentioned that Cook made a specific remark about Johnny Ive's involvement with iOS 7.
Right.
What does that say to you? We've heard that Ive is getting, his responsibilities have been elevated under Cook, and
right.
He's involved in or at least captaining a redesign of, the look and feel of the Apple operating system.
It's significant because Johnny Ive in the past has been focused on Apple's hardware, which has been legendary for its simplicity and overall quality. So to push Scott Forstall out, or whatever the reasons are that he left, and to bring Ive in and to put him in charge of what they're calling human interface, and then to say, listen, 9 months later, we're going to have a whole new look to our operating system on the iOS side and the Mac side, that's significant. That's never really happened before. You've had a guy in charge of both. Historically, Apple had a software guy and a hardware guy. And so we're going to see some significant changes, I think, and we're all going to know more in about 11 days or so. One
of the most exciting stories in these technology companies' world right now has been content. Everybody wants fresh content. Everyone wants something good. That's why there's this bidding war for Hulu.
Right.
Yahoo just bought Tumblr for $1 billion.
Right.
Apple's not getting into this game.
Yeah, that was surprising. I was interested that he said, you know what, we're not looking at Hulu. We don't think we need to own content. He said we need to have access to it, which is interesting. I might have guessed they might have used some of this $100+ billion to pick up, a lot of content. They could buy all the content they wanted, but clearly not their interest, and that was something that was new to me.
One of the analyses I read this morning, Brian, focused on the hints that Tim Cook dropped about maybe bringing down the walls around the Apple garden.
Right.
That they might make it a little bit easier.
A little more open.
Right. What do you read into that? He didn't say a lot.
You know what? I think that one of the reasons why Android has been so successful around the globe, and one of the reasons it's gaining momentum even here in the U.S. with a lot of techies, is because it is open. You can effectively do a lot more to it. You can customize in a lot of ways that you can't customize iOS. So I think it's a little bit of that as Apple looking at what consumers want around the world and saying, you know what, we've got to become a little more open and change. That's always been one of the big complaints against
But that's
Apple.
like a religious conversion at Apple, isn't it?
It is. It's a little more being a little more open-minded about religion, absolutely.
Well, when I think about all of this, I think Google versus Apple. Google stock has been shooting up. Apple's the other way. Who is mastering the consumer right now? I'm thinking of the Maps application and some of the wearable buzz.
That's exactly right. Look, Google's on top, and everybody knows it. And that's the thing. That's what Apple has to really prove at this Worldwide Developer Conference and in whatever devices come out in the fall, is that they are still out in front. Because the perception right now is that Google's way out there. They're showing people the future. They're showing people Google Glass. They're doing a lot of exciting stuff with Maps. They're actually about to overhaul their Maps in the next month. Google is. And so Apple needs to show everybody that, you know what, we're going to continue to be a front runner. We're not going to be left behind, and we'll wait and see what they show.
Not just compete, but actually be
in
in
front.
Yeah,
That's right.